Yeah.
Welcome to the BPRC podcast, Black People's Republic of China, giving you my opinions of living abroad. I am your host, Gary, better known as G, here to discuss my experiences of being black, expressing positivity and love.
And I remember smoking on the block, the summertime shine, I ain't had no sunblock. Went from blocking shots to popping rocks and beans. I thank the good Lord, I've never seen a...
And that is the intro. Welcome to the show. Today is just like I don't know, I'm in a chill mood today, you know. We're going to talk about mother psychosis. Today's title is Mother Psychosis. I'm glad to announce the first female guest on the show. And I just want to kind of talk about the female perspective of living in China as a black woman, you know, and what it's like coming from that side, you know. I definitely think that needs to be a represented entity, you know. But I also wanted to just kind of discuss today about the psychology of what it takes to make that move, what it takes for someone to be in the mindset to make that move. But, you know, let's get into that in a second. But before we get into that, as always, the BPRC way, we have to give thanks to the one and only Almighty Jesus Christ. Thank you, God, for giving me this opportunity. I want to thank you. I need 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 you. And that is giving thanks. That's how we give thanks on the BPRC show. But yeah, let's get right into it, man. I had a whole rundown of what I wanted to discuss. And we may still get into it. But then this morning I had a phone call with a friend, and something interesting she said to me about just the mind and where we are as people and the experiences that we go through. And it's funny because each one of us has such a unique experience in life. I thought about what it would take, like what does it take for us to get to that point mentally where you say, you know what, I just want to go. Like, I just need to go. So for me, and I can only pull from my experiences, but I think so I'll give it to you from a personal standpoint, right? Because you always got to deal with self before you deal with anything else, right? So for me, I think I was just at the point where I needed something different. My life had been this whole roadmap, this normal roadmap, what was supposed to be, what was supposed to happen. You're supposed to be doing this at this point in life, at this age. When you become a parent, you're supposed to act like this, and all those stipulations that the world puts on us. But I just never felt like I was supposed to follow the status quo, you know? So for me, just coming out of, you know, a hard life, basically, I just needed something different. And I felt like moving abroad, first, I always had the feeling of moving abroad was a good thing. So the psychosis of me moving abroad was just, I was ready to change, ready to do something different that was completely outside of the box. And then the China opportunity came up. And actually, it's funny how it came up. The opportunity came up on my birthday, and I was just sitting down with a friend, and he was like, yeah, man, somebody contacted me today. We was drinking wine, and he was like, yeah, somebody contacted me today about moving to China. And I was like, moving to China? Oh man, I'll move to China. And he was like, really? He was like, I'll pay for you to go if you move there. 7 months later, I was living in China. That was in 2017, right? So it's funny how the psychology of where you are in your life can lead to life-changing decisions. And then like just also, now you gotta also just feel, where do you have to be to, as a black person, what goes through your mind when you're making that decision? Now you have to start thinking about, your culture and your race. Like, how is that? Where do you have to be mentally to even? How strong do you have to be to even step into that zone? Because now you're a protector of your race moving to another country. You know, you're gonna meet other blacks, but at the end of the day, every experience that you have, every person that you walk to is gonna be a reflection of your race, not just you, but it's gonna be a reflection of your race. You know what I mean? So you have to the pressure and the mentality that it takes to have to recognize that. So I just thought that it was and that's just me. That's interesting. I just thought it was interesting how if I thought about it in that light in that way, how would a female think about it? Because it's not only does she have to bear the same things I have to bear, but she has to bear it from a whole different perspective. And now she has to add family to it, and she has to add being a female to it, which is not different, but let's face it, it is a little more difficult. Females are way stronger than men because they have to deal with more, especially black females. Black men deal with a lot, but black females deal with a lot. You know what I mean? So no wonder most of our females are super strong. But that's why I wanted to bring in a black female guest today, just so we can kind of just talk it out and see what she thinks. So let's give Takia a call and see where she is in the process. Takia, I believe, is a psychologist.
Hello?
Miss Takia, how are you?
Hey, I'm fine. How are you?
I'm doing well. Welcome to the BPRC for being a guest today.
Hey.
I just wanted to get your opinion on a couple things today. I was kind of in like a talkative mood today, so maybe we can just kind of chit chat a little bit.
Okay.
So today's discussion, today's title is Mother Psychosis. And that got me thinking because I was talking to you the other day and we had talked about psychology and we had like this whole conversation we planned out that we was going to talk about, but I changed it on you.
Okay.
Yeah. So now it's raw and real right now. I want to talk about the psychology of what you felt and what I felt. Where were you mentally in order to get to the place of saying, you know what? I'm going to move away from everything I know and go to China.
Okay. Well, for me, I've always had, even since I was a kid, I've always wanted to go abroad. I've always wanted to live somewhere else. I was raised in the military. I am a military brat, so moving around is not anything that's new to me.
Mm-hmm.
I became really adapted to change at a young age.
Okay.
So once I actually got into like high school and into my college years, I'm like, okay, how can I start this process? So I first wanted to study abroad just to get my feet wet, and I did that in Tanzania for 3 weeks. It was like a semester class, and it was awesome. Like from that day on, it was like, okay, full force.
Like, oh yeah, I'm ready for this now.
Full speed ahead. But at the same time, I still had a life. I had bills to pay, coming out of school, student loans, had to find my own place, because living with my parents was like, can't do that. So I've always tried to figure out how to get abroad. So actually a friend who I studied abroad with in college actually put me on to the International TESOL Academy, where I could become a certified English teacher.
Okay.
Which led me to, I think I started that in 2013. I got my certificate, but in order to complete the course, you have to do a practicum, in which I taught English at a church. After that, I actually got my certificate. I just kept getting better jobs, able to like move out, get a car, things like that. But it just never, I wasn't really fulfilling what I was doing, where I was putting what I wanted to do, like on the back burner to get me where I wanted to be. It was actually last year, like, okay, like if I'm not going to do it, I'm not going to do it at all. Like this is the last year. I'm going to say this is the last year. So
finally get to it. Yeah.
Yeah, so I decided to look in different countries. At first, I wanted to teach in South Korea, but I don't know, just something about China that I gotta go. Like, it's always brought me to it. Maybe it was, watching like the old like Shaolin movies with my grandfather as a kid. I just always wanted to go and experience like a different culture.
So I want to, because you are a psychology professional. So I want to go deeper. What, like, mentally inside your mind, like, what place did you have to, like, where are you at when you finally made the decision, I'm going? Were you in like a place where you needed change in your life, or like was it like a happy place where you just was like, I feel like I owe the world more, or like tell me from a psychosis point of view, like what you felt when you made the decision to move. Because I'm trying to get us to understand what it takes for, like, where do you have to be mentally to say, I'm leaving my home, I'm leaving everything I know to go somewhere that I don't know, I know zero about?
For me, it was more of a gradual state over time. But what really was like the turning point for me, like mentally, is when I got to this corporate position in human resources, and everyone's like, oh, you finally got the job, you can retire from, blah, blah, blah. But I just really wanted more out of life. I wanted to go on an adventure that will help me in the long run. And some people just like, okay, I'm just going to take a vacation, take a trip. Like, no, like, I want this to be part of, my story.
Right. And
I can teach people or educate people, on how I did it. But I just became really stagnant in my life. I was like, okay, this is not where it's going to be. I know if I'm in the same position within the next 3 years, like, I feel like I do a disservice to myself.
Right.
So in order to make a change so big, it's not that it's like, okay, just boom, one day I'm just going to move. But there was a lot to think about as far as like the guilt of, leaving everything and everything that you know for something totally new. There's no support system. Yeah. Say if you fall in hard times, who are you going to call? The time difference. There's a lot of things that come into play when you make such a big decision like this. But I also knew, like, in myself, I could do these things.
Mm-hmm. So now we're talking. So when you say guilt, that's big, because people don't realize, like, it's hard to leave your family and your loved ones to go to somewhere really new where you have no one, right? And then the strength of being able to make that decision. So now I want to take you to the next step. And so after you made that decision with those things in mind, what were some of the things that you thought you were going to see when you landed in China? Because this is Black People's Republic of China, so we have to tie in China somehow. And what did you go in expecting, and then what did you go in seeing that you didn't expect?
Well, I will say for my first experience abroad in Tanzania, and then also visiting China before, it's a difference between actually, visiting a place and living somewhere. Mm-hmm. But one thing I taught myself in college is to enter into a new situation with no expectations. That way you're not disappointed in any way.
Right.
But I will say something I had to get used to very quickly is just how much of the language that I did not know, or at least I thought I knew, once I landed there.
Oh, so did you study?
A few things, how to ask, like about the day, but it's just tones and things. Oh my gosh! Like, even now, I'm taking a language class now. I still have a hard time. I already lived in China, but it's just like what made it very easy for me is to actually be immersed into the culture, to pick up the language quickly.
So
But
I know what you mean because I lived there for 3 years and I still don't speak fluent Chinese, right? And it's crazy because I've taken all kind of classes. I've had private tutors, everything. But for me, it's just so hard to pick up the language because like I'm good with vocabulary words. Like I can tell you what all the words mean. I just can't put the sentences together because in the Chinese language, the way we speak in like, okay, we say how are you, they say you are how, so I can't just wrap my mind around. So when someone asks me a question, I think about it in English and then I just plug in the vocabulary words, but it's always wrong.
right.
you know you know
The syntax was different, and then also the tone to make sure you're not offending anybody.
yes.
That's a lot. That's a lot.
So that was one thing you learned. And what was something that like you saw that you didn't expect? Like when you move well, you can talk about your Tanzanian experience as well, but what was something that when you landed and you was like, oh my God, this is better than I expected. Like this is not what I expected. I thought this, but this is what I saw.
Transportation, I will say. I thought it was going to be really hard to get around because I did not know the language. But actually, most of the subways or the trains have English, or where you can, just translate it to English, like right on the kiosk.
Right.
But it's super easy to get around. Like in Chongqing, where it's a huge city, 30 million people, and compared to Atlanta, when we were at MARTA,
Yeah.
and that's only just,
At Ron.
downtown, Metro Atlanta, but whereas you can be, like, you can go 70 kilometers and still be on a train,
Right.
On subways, something that's, like, so new to me. I'm like, oh my gosh, like, okay. I love that part of getting to get around, but I thought it was going to be very difficult, but no, I love rapping.
Nah, listen, and again, I'm speaking about China because that's where I live, but the transportation system, I picked that up. That's actually the very first thing they taught me when I went. My boss, he was like, all right, we got to get on the train. And like maybe a day or two later, I was on the train by myself all over China. You know what I'm saying? So, okay. So like now, because we are talking about mother psychosis, which mother is female. Tell me about your experience, like from a female's perspective, like in terms of like, you can talk about maybe safety because China is really, really safe. But how does that? How did that change you mentally? Because you being a female in America, you have to kind of guard yourself a little bit and protect yourself. But knowing now that you're in China and you're feeling a little bit safe. Talk about that a little bit from a female, like as a female.
Well, as a female from the States, there's certain things that you have to be aware of, like. Always trying to walk with a group, or always make sure you have your keys or your cell phone on you. Just always on alert.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying that I'm not like that in China because that's just what I was raised to do, but it was a little bit more lax for me because people are really polite, and I don't. It's kind of like I have this new sense like invincibility around me because it's so safe there, but it also doesn't make me naive.
Yes, but it's okay. You can be a little naive because it is that it is that safe. Exactly.
Like some of the things that I've done in China, I would never do downtown. Never.
Right. And it's also like people talk about how you're always being watched, but that's one of the reasons why you feel safe because there's nothing that even if something did happen to you, they're gonna find out who did it.
CCTV is everywhere.
Quickly. So like, did you find as the black experience and then the black female experience of you living in China, like, is there a difference? If there is a difference, what is it? Because I can talk about the black experience all day as a man, but I'm not a female, so I don't really know what that's like. I can talk about how I'm perceived and and how they look at me as a black man, but how do they look at you? How did you feel like they looked at you as a black female? Like, what was your black female experience compared to just a regular black experience?
Well, I will have to would say, as a Black female living in China, there are some things that are definitely going to be different.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that I noticed very quickly is hair. So I am a natural, and I do not care where my natural hair is. I'm going to wear my wash and goes. I'm going to wear my twist out. I'm going to wear my braid outs, my braids, my mini twists, so on and so forth.
Right.
But for some people who have never seen that before, they always seen it on TV. The first thing they'll, like somebody on the corner or somebody out in the street, like, oh, profile, which is hair.
Mm-hmm.
And try to ask questions. Being I don't know the language, I don't know, but of course they have the touch.
They probably touched you, yeah.
Whoa.
They have the touch and the stare.
The touch and the stare, yes. At first I was like, oh, well, I had to bring myself back. Like, these people are not being racist. This is pure curiosity. They don't know. They've never seen this person or this type of person in front of them. Some people they have no idea, what Black people like, how they move or how they look. So I'm kind of not trying to be the token Black person, but for some people, I'm the only Black person they've seen in person ever.
Yes. That's right. That is exactly right. It's almost like when I first got there, I had to make the comparison of if you're here in America, right? What happens? What do you do when you see a rare car? Like if you saw an Aston Martin on the street right now, what would you do? You would look at it, right? Or maybe take a photo of it, right? So that's what we are. We're like rare vehicles to them. That they've never seen, you know what I mean? So they're gonna look as long as they possibly can look, and create that memory. So this is really good. So what I'm gonna do is usually I would play a couple games with you and then send you on your way. But I like your conversation today, so because we talking psychology, but we're gonna take a quick break and we're gonna get into we're gonna get into some mental fitness.
All right.
So this is a game called Blackout, as you can tell from my theme music. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you 30 seconds, right? And in those 30 seconds today, I'm going to ask you to name as many famous Black females as you possibly can.
Famous Black females. Okay.
In any industry. Normally I pick one industry, but today, because you're my first Black female guest, I'm gonna let you pick any industry. They just have to be famous.
Okay.
Okay?
All
right, you ready?
Let's go.
Okay, go.
Maya Angelou, Angela Bassett, Beyonce, Kelly Rowland, oh wow, consider blank. Ashanti, Whoopi Goldberg, Tilly, Angela Davis, Toni Morrison.
So that's okay. That's good. You did. See, people don't realize that's harder than you think. It's harder than you think. So you got 9. You got 9. That's good. Because what's going through your mind is okay, I know all these names, but who should I say next? Or what industry should I go into? So that's why I kind of, right.
Music,
right.
Everybody.
Right. So that's how I flip it on you. All right. So good. Okay. You get to keep your Black card, and that's your prize.
Lovely.
Yeah. So anybody that gets less than 4 loses their Black card. Yeah. So, okay. So, because I think anyone can get 3 or 4.
Yeah.
All right. So, so the next game. So we're not done. We're not done with the mind fitness.
All right, let's go.
So the next game is alphabet soup. Okay. So I'm gonna give you another 30 seconds, and then I'm gonna choose a letter, and you have to name as many words as you can that start with that letter without using names.
Without using names.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm gonna challenge you now. Let's go with R.
R.
Yep. Letter R. Okay, you ready?
And it's just all words but no names.
All words, no names.
Okay.
Let's see if you can get the technique down. So the record is 20.
20.
20.
Okay.
All right, ready? Go. I love that game because like some people get the technique, some people don't. But you did good. Yeah, you got 12. Like
Okay, like I thought it was a 20, but
no, that's good. That's good. No, I put the pressure on you. Yeah, I definitely put the pressure on you by telling you telling you the 20, what was the record. So put the pressure on you. But if you have time, let's continue our conversation. I just wanted to break it up a little bit, but here in the BPRC, we also like to use the roller coaster ride. We like to take our listeners on a roller coaster ride. So let's pick back up the vibes. Give me a couple seconds. Yeah. Ooh. Yeah. Just a good track to get back into the box. Yeah, girl, we could meet on the week. Just kind of get your mind right. Yeah. Help you get into your thoughts. Yeah, girl, we could meet on the weekend. Try to share body, maybe it's out the way she was going. Okay, that was your pick me back up. That was like your coffee, That was like a sip of coffee. So yeah, we was talking about mother psychosis and the psychology surrounding what it takes to move abroad and just live abroad. And so to continue on that, I wanted to know how did you feel like exploring the Chinese culture, and it gave you a sense of what did it give you a sense of? Again, and I want you to kind of come from the Black perspective, but I also want you to come from like the female point of view. Because I know you said you like history and you like the historical things, so you could talk about that, like how it felt being a female exploring the history of China in the time that you was there, or even talk about Tanzania, just female being abroad.
Well, a lot of people think that when you go abroad as a fellow female, that there's danger all around you. So of course, it's always going to be looming back in your mind. However, there's a lot of places that's really safe, and it just gives you a lot of agency to do what you like while you're out there. And of course, there's always people watching you there and back home. But as long as you have a goal in mind to do what you set forth to do, then it will just come very easily to you. Now, for me, when I first got to China, I pretty much hit the ball rolling, so I really didn't get out to explore. Most of us were trying in training for my school, but once I actually got to a point where I could start go out and try different things, it's like to explore the history through like the food, through interpersonal conversations, how people do certain things, like how we say hello, or certain like family rules that you have to go by.
Now that's interesting. Yes, the manners, right? Is that? Yeah, manners. Did you find that was like that? See, for me, that was one of the most difficult parts of living somewhere else. Was like, okay, don't just walk by me and shove me, without saying excuse me, or like the
concept of standing in a line and out the door, and I had to. Oh, that's a good time for me.
Yes,
so it's like the little nuances of the culture that I really wouldn't pick up on. I picked up there.
Right. So what, because you said you lived in Tanzania for a couple of weeks, what's one thing that they do in Tanzania that we don't do here in America in terms of manners? Like, what's something that would happen?
About manners. I think the two things that stuck out most to me was that it is not taboo to see like two men holding hands walking down the street.
That's normal in Tanzania?
Yes.
Okay.
And then also, this was also like 6 years ago, when I remember most like personal space. Since it's a very communal society there, like being together is a thing. But like when somebody's coming up to you in the street and they would say like, excuse me, like what's your name? They'll just like tap you on the shoulder and ask you a question.
Oh.
Like, that's kind of invasive, but hello.
Yeah, so I find that that is very true, because even when I was living in China, the one thing I had to get used to was in China, culturally they have no problem. They're very intrusive. Like, they have no problem asking you where you live, how much you make, what your family does, like on the very first moment they meet you.
Yeah, there's no beating around the bush. Hey, how are you? I'll be like, no, how much money do you make? Are you married? Like, oh, hey.
Yes.
Hello, my name is Kia.
Yes, I couldn't get. That's one thing I still, even to this day, and you know, and I speak with my friends in China every single day. Even to this day, I can't get used to that. Like, I just can't do it. So, but yeah, did it? So, I wanted to give you an opportunity.
Sorry.
Oh, no problem. Go ahead.
One thing I wanted to say,
Yeah, go ahead.
during my time in Tanzania, now, one thing that I loved and I can't wait to do again is to go to a country and feel where you're not the minority, the sense of welcomeness. I will never forget. Like, I felt at home.
Right.
So,
Right.
throw that step down. That's part of the experience I will never forget, and I hope to get back as soon as possible.
I know, you and me both. So this is I'll let you go now. And thank you for your time. But before you go, I wanted to give you an opportunity to kind of just leave us with a last impression. You know, something you want to say to the listeners, and then also, you know, pitch your handles, your media handles.
Okay, well, to everybody out there, I just want to say, if you have a goal or mission, something that you want to do, just do it. Like, I know you've heard so many people like, gotta do this, gotta do this, gotta do that. No, put your mind to it, do whatever it takes to get there. You know, your best plan B is to make plan A work. So.
Best to get a plan B to your plan A.
So that's how I feel with this whole situation with China and coronavirus. Like, I'll do what I have to, but I'm going back.
Right, right. And I think it was Will Smith that said, you shouldn't have a plan B. Yeah,
right.
Yeah. Plan B just means you're not confident with your plan A. Oh, okay.
So, you guys can find me on Instagram. My handle is Lady Statuesque. And I also have a couple videos on YouTube, which I'll still be adding to with the footage that I've had over the past couple months of living in China. And just find me by my name, Takia Carter, TAKIYANCCARTER.
Sounds good. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
No problem. We'll talk soon, okay? And stay safe.
I love you.
Okay, bye. That was Takia. Great conversation. But, you know, BPRC. It's time for Let's Keep the Show Going. Time for a fresh new finds. And I've been running this one for 3 episodes in a row. So, again, this is my brother, so I got to let him live a little bit. But this is God Stanley with Troop. We got book music. Brothers of One Kind.
Yeah. 4 or 5 shots, I'm getting wasted. Bartender says it's cutting me off. Like, wait, what you mean? Next thing I feel a tap on my shoulders. Turn around, ooh, she's a fine dime. She looking pretty, oh my God. She like, hey boy, can you buy me a drink? I'm like, yeah, baby mama, I can get you whatever you want. But first tell me, girl, you look this good if I was sober. Don't have to answer that, no, let's get bitch drunk on.
What's up with you? Shit, I just wanted to fuck with you. My only intention to get you to pay attention. Give you what you're missing in every single position. I'm what you want, I gave you what you need. I see your style, it gave me something to think about. Are you from Cali? This shit probably see you around. And if you with it, then tell the nigga we leaving now. Unless obvious way.
Yes, that was God Stanley, fresh new find, Troop. And so it's time for List It. You know, this is where we just list some things, and everyone loves lists. So let's just get into our list. And today's topic, so let's go with 10 surprising things you probably didn't know about women. Number 1, women have more X chromosomes, thus some of them can see 100 times the color everyone else does. Number 2, women are great leaders. However, only 3 places in the world are really exemplary in recognizing their talent. Those 3 places, let's see if I can find it real quick. Those 3 places are Colombia. Number 3, the majority of women say they would not use the word beautiful to describe themselves. Oh, so it's Colombia, St. Lucius, and Jamaica, where those are the 3 places in the world that are really exemplary in recognizing women talents. And the third one was majority of women say they would not use the word beautiful to describe themselves. Really? It says the research showed that even though 85% of participants said that all women have something beautiful, only a mere 2% perceive themselves as beautiful. Number 4, their heart never skips a beat. That's interesting. I guess it says the average heart rate of a man is 70 beats per minute, and that of a woman is 78 beats per minute, right? Number 5, women always have something to say. I'm going to leave that one alone, not touch that one. Let's see if we can get to the rest. No, I think that's it. There's only 5. So those are the 5 things you didn't know about women. I think that was kind of interesting. All right, well, that's our show for today. And I want to thank our guest, Takia, for joining us today. Before we go and play the Good Vibes song, I want to make sure we leave with a sum up. I started the show discussing psychology and where you are in your frame of mind. So wherever you are out there and whatever you're going through now, you may be at a point where you just need something different. And if the opportunity comes up for you to live abroad, my advice would be to do it. No matter how old you are. If you're older, maybe if you're in your 40s, early 50s, late 30s, early in 40s and early 50s, and you just need something different in your life, not maybe career or whatever, you just need something to give you a boost, definitely well worth it to give you a break. If you're in your 20s and you're in college and you're in school and trying to find your career, definitely do it, because it can only give you a broader scope of what you want to do in life. And that's our sound bit. That's our sum up for the show. But like always, I must leave you with a quote. And the quote today is, this is a show about women today. So here's one by Lady Gaga. Some women choose to follow men and some choose to follow their dreams. If you're wondering which way to go, remember that your career will never wake up and tell you that it doesn't love you anymore. It's Lady Gaga. So that's our show for today. As always, I want to thank you for listening, and let's take us out with something peaceful. Until the next show, you've been listening to the BPRC. I want to express my thanks, and we are all blessed. Stay safe. Stay prosperous.
Move to the other side, back up your pump. Gave you the strap, ain't know that my heart was the top. Move along with a lot of weight on me. Money low, but a lot of hate in me. My so cold, you can feel my heartbeat. It's just pain and jealousy. Move along with a lot of weight on me.
I'm gonna let this one ride today because that's just feeling vibing today, right? I like the way you moving your hips, you got me. That's how I'm feeling today. All right, thank you for listening to the BPRC.